Bonjour tout le monde, c'est moi, Madame. Today we're going to learn how to introduce yourself in French, and we're going to pick out names that we'll use in class. So our presentation is entitled Je m'appelle, c'est moi. First of all, you want to ask someone their name. Be helpful to introduce yourself, but also ask someone their name. So let's talk about how we ask people their names. To say what's your name, we have a couple of different ways that we can do it. So first, these are ones that you can use with your friends, and here are the pronunciations. Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Another way you can do this is by flipping the question around. Comment t'appelles-tu? Comment t'appelles-tu? Let's try those again. Comment tu t'appelles? Comment t'appelles-tu? Now, these are for use with friends, people you would call by their first names, your classmates, people who are about the same age as you. We also have this one. Comment vous vous appelez? Comment vous vous appelez? Or you can flip the question. Comment vous appelez-vous? Comment vous appelez-vous? It's the same question. It still asks what's your name, but this is more what you would use with people you don't know very well, people you call Mr. or Mrs. So before we answer that question, what's your name? Let's talk about why we have these. This is called formal and informal language. Tu or toi is used in informal language. We ask questions with tu or toi when we know the person well enough to use their first name, such as your classmates, or if they are younger than you, like little kids at elementary school, or if they're a family member, like your siblings or even your mom or dad. Vous is used when you don't know the person very well. Maybe you can't call them by their first name because you've never met them. Maybe you can't call them by their first name because they require a term of respect, like Mr. or Mrs., Your Highness, Your Holiness, Your Honor. You would use this with people at school who are older than you. Or if you've actually never met them before, it's always good to be more formal until they give you the signal that it's okay to be informal. So now that you know how to ask someone their name, you can give your name if they have asked you. So to answer the question, comment tu t'appelles? Or comment t'appelles-tu? You can tell a person, my name is. The answers to that begin with je m'appelle, je m'appelle, je m'appelle, which means I call myself or my name is. You can also use je suis, which means I am. And notice the dots behind it. It's time for you to put your name there. So you would answer je m'appelle with your name or je suis with your name. Okay? In class, I am Madame. That's my term of address. And for our intents and purposes, if you accidentally use the to form, the in form with me, it's not a big deal. I just want you to be communicating. So don't get too hung up on having to use that in class. We'll practice it both ways, but feel free to use whatever you need to with me just to communicate. So if I were answering for myself, I would say, je m'appelle Madame. Je m'appelle Madame. Or I can say, je suis Madame. Je suis Madame. So what am I going to call you? It's time for us to pick out a name. Perhaps you'd like to use a French name, a traditional type French name, or even an African or North African name so that you can be authentic in class. Or maybe you'd like to keep your own name. That's okay. Whenever we have conversation on our slideshow videos, since I can't talk to each of you individually, I have a special name that I'm going to use for you. It's Chouchou. So I may tell you, bonjour Chouchou, or ça va Chouchou, and ask you different questions and use Chouchou instead of your actual name. Chouchou is the teacher's pet, and it's always important to me that you feel like you're very, very important. So why would you or would you not choose a French name? Well, there are some pros and cons. Some of the pros that I thought of, you get to learn about cultural lessons, about naming rules firsthand in class, how French people name their children. You can also use it as a secret identity, which is kind of cool. It also sounds more authentic than an American name whenever we're speaking French. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if someone were speaking and they didn't put the French accent on your name, it might sound a little strange if they didn't do that. A con for choosing a French name, you might feel awkward pronouncing it. Remember, we're using some new language techniques, and you might feel awkward pronouncing your French name and afraid that you won't pronounce it right. Another bad thing is that no one really calls you this name outside of class. It's just for class only. Like, you can't use your French name if you go to Paris. You still have to use your regular given name. That's what goes on your passport. Another thing is that you maybe want me to call you by your actual name. I never ever want anyone to feel like their identity is being not validated. You are valid here, and I appreciate you here. And if you would like for me to call you by your name, that is totally fine with me. So if you don't want a French name, I'm more than happy to call you by your given name. But I would like you to remember that to preserve the integrity of French phonetics, it will probably have a French accent on it so that we can make everything flow together. So if your name is Jeff, your name would be Jif. If your name is Thomas, I would probably call you Thomas. Okay, so that's how it works. So it's name time. If you are wanting a French name, you can click on this French names list. I've given lots of different names on here. You're even able to hyphenate two names together. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in class, how French people traditionally will hyphenate two names together. If you don't want a French name and you'd like to use your own name, that's fine. We'll go to a classwork link assignment that'll be linked up tomorrow. So don't try and get to it yet. Just go through and look through the names. That's your only assignment. Okay? So hopefully you enjoy picking out a name or you enjoy using your own name in class. Merci. If you have any questions, be sure and drop them in Google Classroom with the assignment, or you can ask it during Google Meet, or you can email me if you like. Au revoir.